Bulls win at Chavez Ravine. The Angels 3, the Washington Senators nothing.
I'm standing here right now because I'd like to make a comment about that last phone call about Jewish people and discrimination. My feeling is that there's been too much talk the last 10 years about discrimination about everything. Everybody is discriminated against. I can't stand here and tell you that I'm going to speak for all the Jewish people. I'm going to speak for me, in my opinion. I'm Jewish. 35 years old, I've never been discriminated against. This station isn't owned by Jewish people. I never stood before a camera in my life, and they hired me. Now, I really never meant to do this, but I graduated college and didn't find any difficulty in getting in and getting through and graduating. Now, Jewish people in this country constitute about 2% of the population, yet they have a tremendous majority, way out of proportion, of doctors, lawyers, engineers, all kinds of civil servants. As a group, they live very, very well. They are not discriminated against. They don't believe they're discriminated against, and I think they've gotten into the American scheme of things in a very nice way. And I know that I have never seen discrimination, and I'm just sorry that you didn't let that man make his point, because I would have liked to argue it out.
Well, I didn't stop him from making his point.
Now, with respect to what you said about Israel,
yeah,
I have to apologize because I really don't know what's going on in Israel, and I don't know if you're telling the truth.
What do you mean you don't know if I'm telling the truth?
Well, I don't know if they don't allow Christians in there.
Would I make a statement unless I knew what I was saying in that case?
I didn't say you're telling a lie. I just said I don't know if you're telling the truth.
All I'm saying is, it is my understanding. That's a beautiful line. He's not saying I'm lying, but he's not sure I'm telling the truth.
Well, all I know is...
Wait a minute, let me finish, will you? I didn't interrupt you.
Go ahead.
As you went on with your little tear-jerking message about what a great college graduate you were. Don't mention the college, because they shouldn't be embarrassed.
All right.
Now, it is my understanding...
Oh, you're beautiful.
That in order to become a permanent resident of Israel, you must be of the Jewish faith. You may visit there, you may come and enjoy, you may... perhaps have an extended stay. But there was a Roman Catholic priest on television this past week, and he is sort of the chaplain of whatever Catholics are there at the moment. And he specified that no non-Jewish person can be a permanent resident of Israel. Now, I'm asking you if that is true. Well, I can't believe it, because there are Arabs there, and they're living there all year round. I understand that.
I mean, they're not Jewish.
But they are also not permanent residents. They're there, and I guess maybe they have the same kind of a dispensation as the Maoris have in Australia, the Aborigines. I don't know.
Well, now you're iffy.
But I'm quoting what this chaplain said.
Well, with all due respect to the chaplain, and without starting a religious war...
No, I don't want to do that.
I don't think that he is equipped to comment about what goes on in Israel, even though he was the chaplain.
He just came from there.
Well,
he's not...
In other words, they're letting him in on a secrets. I mean, let's face it. What does he really know?
This man
is
there...
And you're repeating an if-come that he... But,
This man is there representing his faith, and you say you don't think he's qualified. You stand there...
I don't think he's qualified to talk about the Israeli government, just like I don't think you're qualified to talk about it, nor am I.
The man lives there. He lives there.
Well, let's send up a flare.
He is entitled to say what he knows about the country. And he spoke very intelligently, which is more than I can say for you, because right now you're in a position where you don't know what to say, and you think you can kill some time by rattling on, and I've got a guest here, and as far as I'm concerned, you can get out of the dock. Now, what do you think of that?
The only reason I'm
getting out... What do you think
of
that? Get out of the dock.
Well, I'm going to get out, but the only reason I'm getting out is not because you flapped your mouth, but because I'm afraid of what the man next to you may do to me if I don't get out.
Take a look at the man right here, if you will, who's sitting next to me now. And I'll tell you about him. He's Chief Waniota. And the chief is of the Creek Seminole Nation, and a man who feels he has a few justified complaints against the white man. And, matter of fact... thing.
What do you want?
Is that your face, or are you breaking it in for a friend?
No, you leave me alone. Now, I'm going to make a remark. Now,
because you can't be two-faced. If you were, you'd wear the other one.
Will you stop flapping your mouth? You're liable to take off like a helicopter. If my wife is out there watching, If you are out there watching, you go over to the bookshelf, you pick up the encyclopedia, you get in the car, you come down here, because I'm going to prove this Indian speaks with a forked tongue, and I want Pyne to keep his mouth shut after this. And I'm willing to stand here until that book arrives. And that's what I have to say.
Are you impressed,
I can
Chief?
talk all night.
He couldn't impress anybody but himself. Or does he impress himself? Well, now are you through for a moment? What is your name, by the way? I didn't get your name.
Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull.
The bull part of it I'll buy.
I can believe half of your story.
You're entitled to talk. You are a citizen, you got your rights. Go.
All right. Now, Mr. Bull, Sitting.
Bull is the last name.
You
You want to call me by my first name, Sitting.
How soon will your wife be down with an encyclopedia?
Let's say an hour, 45 minutes.
Will she read it for you?
Will she read it for me?
Yes.
Somebody will have
If we can
to.
get my wife through, she can read it on the air.
Well, I'll appreciate somebody reading it because...
Can we get the producer,
Now, wait a
Bill
minute. You
Walker?
promised that the chief would talk when you finished that remark to your wife.
Okay.
All right.
That I did, and for that I'll stand by
He'll
quietly.
start again just as soon as I get going.
Okay,
Yes,
well-
I know. You know, you leave me without words because I see that I'm going to be interrupted before I go
No,
very
he's not
far
going
anyway.
to interrupt you anymore. Go ahead.
Well, now, Mr. Bull, Sitting,
Sitting is my first
what
name.
I want to know is where you qualify yourself to know so much about the Indian nation when anyone knows that any account written of history is distorted. Any account that you read in history has more sides than you would think, like any Indian battle. An Indian battle has three sides: the white man's side, the Indian side, and the truth. Now, you are quoting from some distorted, I'd say some distorted writing there that you know nothing of, yet at the same time, you're quoting what you read. I'm quoting what my people have told me. Now, who can we believe?
Chief, did you notice one thing? That he's such an expert on Indian affairs, but he didn't know anything about Israeli history.
Well, there are many things he knows nothing of. And the more he talks, the more he shows it. That's why I try to draw him into conversation, because I have heard that you look at one and you think they know nothing, but if you can get them to talk, they will prove it for you.
Now, you started to describe him through the eyes of an Indian.
This is not coming up with
Now, wait a
stories
minute,
about
you-
casualties, and this is not coming up with stories about Negro slaves. So far,
Are you
he's
going to
doing...
tell the man how to tell his story?
Well, so far, all he's doing
You know, I
is
love the way you
soliloquy
think.
on Whipple Tree.
You think for him, you think for you, you think for me. You do all the thinking here, don't you?
Look,
Do us a favor. Don't think so much.
Pyne, why don't you take a walk? Let him talk. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I'm trying to
Oh,
get
well,
done
He
here.
doesn't need a
Go
lawyer.
ahead,
He does
Chief.
pretty good on his own.
As Mr. Pyne said, I don't
Mr.
think
Pyne.
that you... I don't think that you
Made him a mister.
think. I think you're like a phonograph. You talk.
Well, get off
But-
me. Tell me about the Negro slaves. Tell me about the 50,000
About the slaves.
casualties.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you about
Yeah, tell
I'll
me.
tell you about the 15,000 casualties and the
Go ahead.
$15 million spent first.
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Tell me that.
Well, it seems as though the Indians went way back in the swamps, and every time that an army, a small army, would go in there after them, they wouldn't return because they were going in the swamps there where there was crocodiles, and the Indians naturally know how to handle crocodiles, and the men wouldn't return. And when there was 15,000 of them lost, and it had cost the government $15 million, and yet they hadn't got them out of there, the people begin to wonder, what's going on down there? And when the people starts to howl about something, something must be done. So they just decided, well, we won't send any more men in after them. And when they didn't send any more men, pretty soon everything was all peaceful again. Now, does that answer your question about the casualties? Is that...
That big heap crock of baloney.
Huh?
If if you've ever been to Las Vegas and you've picked up these galloping dominoes, you've thrown them out. That was a 5, by the way. You'll be interested in our next guest. Very much interested. Mr. Sherlock Feldman is our next guest. He is a pit boss at the Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas, which is a place that I generally stay at when I go to Las Vegas. And he didn't remember me, although I have been at his table many times. And I want to begin by telling you that one night you were very angry at my wife. Now, my little wife doesn't know anything about these things at all. And we were standing there at the table, and I was shooting, and I wasn't having any luck. So I said, Shoo, pick up these dice and see what you can do. And she was throwing the dice out, and they would go out maybe 3/4 of the way. But she wasn't hitting
The end rail.
the end rail. And you got very agitated, and you said, lady, you got to hit the end rail.
State law.
And she said, well, I'm trying, but she couldn't seem to, I don't know why, but she suddenly couldn't seem to hit the end rail. And then some big guy said to her, don't pay any attention to him because you throw him out, and she's making number after number after number, and everybody's getting wealthy at the table. And your little pile of money is going down and down and down. And you kept grabbing the dice and said, I won't give them to her again unless she hits the rail. And she kept trying. And I don't think she ever hit the rail. And finally, she 7 out. And that was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And when they told me that you were going to be here, I didn't know your name then. But when I saw you walk in, I thought,
That's the same guy.
That's the same guy. And the thing that I wanted to say to you was that how could she, somebody that didn't know anything about it, throwing the dice 3/4 of the way down the table, have been dishonest? Could anybody manipulate dice 3/4 of the way down that
No.
long table?
No, I didn't want her to hit the end rail for the simple reason that the man on the other side of the table, he was betting that your wife didn't pass. And he told me, he said, make that lady hit the rail. He wanted to see the dice roll. He wanted some action.
Oh, somebody else was demanding it.
Yes, that's right. You see, if he were betting that your wife were to pass, he was betting against the house, he wouldn't say anything. But he was betting that she wouldn't make her number, and every time she made a number, he was losing his money.
How long have you been a professional gambler, Sherlock?
44 years.
How old a man are you?
Well, must I tell you the truth?
Why not?
64.
You don't look it.
Well, I have.
What started you on this life of chance?
Well, I come from St. Louis, one of 13, the youngest of the boys, and we lived right near the Mississippi River levee. And at an early age, I quit school. I must have been about in the 4th grade, 3rd or 4th grade. And I used to have odd jobs and learn how to shoot craps down on the levee with the roustabouts that came in on those boats.
You think children today should be taught to gamble?
I should say not. Definitely not.
But you make your living at it.
Well, as a rule, I work in a gambling house. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a gambler. I gamble myself. I don't know why, but I do. I know I can't win.
In other words, with all your knowledge,
I
you
still can't win. If you were to play, your money's worth about 5 cents on a dollar. Mine's worth 10 cents on a dollar because I know twice as much as you. But I lose my money anyhow. I still play and still lose my money.
What is the most correct way to shoot dice?
The correct way to shoot dice, there's only one way to play it. 95% of the people that come to Las Vegas to gamble do not know how to play.
I know that. That's why I want to know from you. Well, I thought you got run over by a
I
Pontiac.
know, but I'd like to make a little remark right now. The man sitting next to you is a very, very close personal friend of mine.
This may get him in a lot of trouble.
No, and if you start with him, I warn you, you're going to get into serious trouble with me. And if no other way, but physically. So you treat this man with kid gloves.
Why do you go around looking like a
just
milk
telling you in
toast?
advance.
Why do you go around looking like a milk toast and threatening like an atlas?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Huh?
I'm going to tell you.
Nobody's afraid of
Now
you.
listen to me, Fine.
There's nobody afraid of you.
Now listen, Fine.
Why don't
Leave
you
him
take
alone.
a walk?
Now, Fine.
Nobody's going to be afraid of you.
Listen, Fine Tree. Listen to him.
Take a walk. Now, Sherlock,
Thank you, retroactive.
get out of the... Was that a code? Is that some code? I don't know. Well, you were about to explain before that idiot got into the box about the... Is he really your friend?
He's a real fine man, and he's a good friend of mine. He is really a good friend of mine.
But you'd like to lose him if possible.
No,
Be honest
in fact,
about
he was at the dunes about 3 or 4 weeks ago and came with a gentleman, I'll not mention his name, and
Does he have any credit at the dunes?
he sure has. Give him 5,000.
You gave
And-
Whiffletree 5,000?
I wouldn't give it to him unless I knew he was going to pay. But he happened to win. He won
1,400.
14,000.
Whiffletree won $14,000?
Maybe he owes you, but I'll have to tell you he did win it. You know, it's possible to win there, too.
You just put him in good shape with internal revenue. You
That's
really-
all right.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did across the street at the other hotel. He might have lost it.
You're bailing him out now.
That's right.
Well, let's get back and talk about the proper way to shoot dice. Would you like to walk over
Yes, I'd like to explain the dice
to
game.
the layout? We have a complete crap layout over here. All right, Sherlock, would you step over there? I think you have a microphone, or they'll give you one when you get over there.
I'll explain the proper way to lose your money. That's about just what you'll do if you gamble.
You're really a salesman for gambling.
That's right.
All right, coming out, the number coming out. Give him his microphone.
You know, I used to holler coming out for a long
I
time.
know, I've heard up there. Boy, it's like a
I'm not
steady
going to
stream.
hold this. I ought to tie this around my
This
neck.
thing looks awfully familiar to me. Can we get the roulette board out of the way, maybe, or don't we need
Yes,
it?
you may take it out of the way.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Now, there we have the complete dice layout.
This is an exact duplicate of a layout at the Dunes Hotel. The first thing you need to walk up to a dice table is money. Years ago, we used to shoot craps in alleys and get down on our knees. Now it's dressed up a little bit. But it's the same thing, the same odds for years and years. The best way to shoot craps, you bet on the pass line, meaning when one shoots the dice, you're betting that they pass. They come out on a number. If they come out on 7, 11 or craps on the first roll, you win. They throw 2, 3, or 12, constitutes craps. 2, 3, or 12 is craps, you lose your money. You may put $2 on the line, and you may take $2 odds, meaning if the point is 4, and you take $2 worth of odds, you get 4 to 2, twice what you put down.
Now, that's the only free thing in Las Vegas, the odds behind the
The
pass
odds
line.
are absolutely perfect and even. If your point is 4, there's 3 ways to make a 4, 6 ways to make a 7. And if you bet they make a 4, the house will pay you 2 to 1. Now, if you wish to bet on a don't pass, you'll notice it says bar, B-A-R, bar 2 6s. If you were playing amongst yourselves and you bet that the shooter didn't win, and he tossed out a 12 the first roll, you pick up the man's money because you win. He tossed out a craps. But if you play in a professional gambling house, that is our percentage. Bar means you do not win, you do not lose. It's a standoff. But the people that put their money on the pass line, they lose their money.
So that's your edge on the don't pass.
And it's very, very small. But still, you're taking much the worst of it.
Now, you don't have any edge on the pass line, do you?
Yes, we do.
What is your percentage on the pass line?
On a pass line, if you were to put down $1,
Yeah.
you lose 1.41, little less than a penny and a half.
That's the odds.
But if you were to realize how many thousands and thousands are put on that table in 24 hours, it amounts up to a lot of money. Now, when the stick man hollers coming out, that means they're ready to roll for a new number. Coming out, 7, 11 or craps, 2, 3 or 12. You may bet they do or don't pass. You bet either way. We don't tell you how to play. That's the chant of a stick man. When he hollers, do you wish to bet on craps, and you toss $1 on craps, that means 2, 3 or 12. And if they toss out 2, 3 or 12, we will pay you $7.
Now, that's what
You
we call
are entitled to 8.
that's what we call a proposition bet or a
That
sucker
is a
bet, right?
proposition bet.
And people are suckers that make that, aren't they?
We never use the word sucker.
Am I right?
No, you're not right.
Are people foolish to make those bets?
In the sense of the word, yes. But
That's all I wanted to know.
just a minute, but may I explain something to you? If you have $50 on the pass line and you toss up $10 on craps to insure your money, I would say, well, you insure your life, insure your money. You bet $10 on craps, and if you throw 2, 3, or 12, the stick man will say to the dealer, give that gentleman $80.
Yeah, but what are the odds there? That's the key.
Well, if I were to play, I wouldn't bet on craps.
Right.
I wouldn't bet on 7-Eleven or craps. All I would do, but before I start telling you about this gambling game, I ought to swear you all into secrecy. For the simple reason, if you divulge what I'm about to tell you, I won't have a job when I get back to the dunes.
I got a question to ask you on that score.
Okay.
Mike Goodman, who wrote the book How to Win at Cards, Dice, and Roulette, was he canned from the dunes because of the action that came as a result of that book?
No, he wasn't. He quit. Mike Goodman quit. I think now he's trying to be a writer. But as far as systems are concerned, in all my years in the gambling business, there isn't a system devised that can beat this game. Anytime you take the worst of it, you'll not be successful. Never. When a percentage is against you, you're going to lose your money.
But isn't that, Sherlock, about the safest game if anybody's going to gamble?
Right here. When you shoot craps, you have the best gamble of any game in Las Vegas or anywhere else. Craps. Right here.
Now,
but you
what
must
about
play it the right way.
What about explaining to the people the boxes up top, the 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10?
Now, when you bet on the pass line and the dice are rolling, you come out on 4 for a number. Now, if you want to get a come bet, that means getting another number. You put your money here and that dice roll 8. The dealer puts your money on 8. You are also entitled to take the odds on 8. If you bet $5, you take 5 odds. You get 6 for 5. Now, if you want to make another bet and pick any number without the shooter rolling the number, you say, I want $10. I place the $10 on 5. Now, if he tosses a 5, we will give you 14.
So you don't get full odds.
No, you do not get full odds if you place the bet. The only way you may get full odds
To buy it.
if you buy it,
Right.
meaning you will pay 5% for each dollar. You bet $20 on 10, you give the dealer an extra $1. If they toss a 10, we pay you the full odds, $40. But if you were to say, I placed a 10 for $20, you lose $4 by using the word place. We pay you $36 for it, $9 for each 5. So in order to get the full advantage of it, you must say, I buy it, instead of using the word place. Buy it and pay 5% for it.
What about the hard 6 and the hard 8?
The hard 6, you must make it just as the picture is. 2 trays. If you throw a 5 and a 1, 4 and a 2, you lose your money. And if you throw 7, naturally, you lose your money too.
And what about the big 6 and the big 8?
The difference in this big 6 and big 8, if you walk up to the table, you may put it down and pick it up at any time, this big 6 and 8. The only difference, if you put $25 on this number here, 6, and they roll it, the dealer will pay you $25. But if you were to say, place the 6 for $25, we will give you $29 by using the word place. But the dealers, it's not their job to tell you, move it from here to here.
Now, Sherlock, when you put a $5 chip on the pass line and you come out with a 5, you put a $5 chip behind that 5. Isn't it true that if you knew, you could put another dollar on top of that?
That's right.
And the house won't tell you that.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Now, if you put $5 on the line, we do not deal in 50-cent pieces at the dice game. If you put $5 on the line and you put $5 here, all we will give you is 7. You are entitled to 7.5. Now, if you say to the dealer, I wish full odds, he will tell you, place another $1 on it, we'll pay you 9 to 6.
But you have to know that.
Well, after I finish giving this lecture, they'll all know it. It's the proper way to play. Take the full amount of odds. when you walk up into Vegas and you want to shoot craps, if you bet $1, $2, $3, you say to the dealer, now I want to play, I don't know much about it, I want the full odds when I put my money down. The dealer will be more than glad to tell you. And we instruct the dealers, too, to help the people that come to play. Because a lot of them, 95% of them, don't. They pick up the dice, the dealer, the stick man gives them 8 dice, they pick up the whole 8 and roll them all out. And I holler, your number's 47. You know? Just kid them a little bit.
Sherlock, a lot of people are not too familiar with gambling. But I know that you have more stories than anybody in the business. Now, I would like for you to tell the people some of the crazy, fabulous things that you know to be true and that you've seen in the Dunes Hotel. Like the big winners, the losers, the people with the... I know there's one instance with false teeth that I wish you would tell that story.
There's not much to it. Only last week, I walk up and down the pit, and there was a gentleman rolling the dice, was agitated and excited, and he was shaking, and his upper dentures fell out on the table. I promptly took off my lures, and I said, shoot, you're faded. I laid them on there. Well, I took the chill away from a little bit of it, that. You know, there's many stories.
Well, what's the most money you ever saw won?
The most money?
At a crap table.
We had some people in from out of town. One of them won $112,000 about a month ago, and it didn't take long to win it.
Did they get out with it?
Why, sure they got out with it.
What protection can people get when they win a lot of money on an escort basis and that kind of thing out of town?
Well, if you were to win a large sum of money, you may put it right in the cage and we'll give you a receipt for it.
But isn't it true when people win a large sum of money that the house sends beautiful girls and champagne around to them?
Oh, I should say not. That story reminds me of that Indian chief that was sitting there with those stories about girls and everything.
Well, I'll come back to you, Sherlock, in just a moment. If you're like most of the countless people I know, you plan to coach.
Show's over. I don't come in a casino.
You don't agree, then, with a lot of things said in the book, The Greenfeld Jungle?
That's the most vicious book I've ever read. I'm the only man in the book that he doesn't say anything nasty about. I'm on page 10.
Then how come you're knocking him?
Why, because the book is not right. He's not telling the truth. And on top of that, he's said that Sherlock Feldman, he said, mentioned the fact, he's a pit boss at the Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas, mentioned the fact that all the gamblers die broke. But Sherlock says in Vegas they live broke, which is the truth.
Well, now, I understand that on one occasion, maybe you weren't there at the Dunes, that a man actually had a heart attack and fell on the floor, and his best friend who was standing next to him stepped over him.
That's right.
And continued shooting.
Not only that, he wanted to know how he was doing. That was his best friend that carried him into where the deputies have their room in there. They have a couch and they have oxygen there. And he never did come back to find out. And a month ago, there was a fella at the dice table. He had about 200 on the line, had 200 odds, and he got a heart attack, and he was falling down. And as he was falling down, he hollered to the stick man, "Take my odds off," he said. While he was dying, he wanted his odds off. He couldn't take the line off, you know. That bet you could really. He said, "Take my odds off," and he was falling down. He wanted his odds off. He wanted to save him.
He was crumbling.
Yeah, that's right.
Take my odds off.
And it was so crowded when this other man, when his friend had a heart attack, fell right down at the dice table. One guy said, "Please move him. I want to take his space at the table." You know, it was real crowded.
What about what the college professor says about you people? How you're running dealers on them, and when I say you, I'm talking about the industry now, not the Dunes. You're running dealers on them. You try to cheat them in different ways.
No. Don't you believe Tharp. Please don't believe him, because the man is way out of line.
But hasn't he caused you fellows to actually change your rules for blackjack?
They changed it for about 3 days, and finally we went back to the old system. In fact, the Dunes was the first one that went back to the system. The man was way out of line. I'll explain exactly what he was doing. Now, as you mentioned early in the evening when I spoke to you, you said, "Can I have the whole table to play?" And I said, "Well, naturally, we'll let you play at the whole table." And he'd bet $1 in each one of the squares. There were 6 of them. And then when the dealer have about 4 aces left and only about 9 cards, he would want to bet 500 in each box. We use the term he's counting, meaning he keeps track of all the cards that are left.
Well, if he's that clever mentally, why should you stop him? Or how legally could you stop him?
By shuffling up the deck again.
In other words, instead of
just
waiting
say,
until the last card, you grab him up.
That's right.
And
There's
shuffle him
nothing
up.
illegal about it.
But he really beat you pretty good.
He didn't beat us.
Well, I mean, he beat Vegas.
That's what he claims.
You don't believe it?
He might have beat it, but I truthfully don't know what club he did beat.
Have you ever seen him play?
I don't even know him.
Well, he now goes in disguise, you know, when he goes to Vegas.
He goes in disguise.
That's right.
Well, he can come to the dunes and play. Perfectly all right. You talk about systems. He might have a very good system. I have a system, too. A system of playing blackjack by Sherlock. I don't guarantee you to win, but I guarantee you to last longer. That's why they use the term blackjack, like getting hit in the head with one. I doubt if anybody can beat the game playing blackjack. Anytime you have to outguess the dealer.
Wait just a minute. I played a hand of blackjack or two in my time, and one of the basic reasons that the average citizen loses when he goes to Las Vegas and plays blackjack is the fact that the dealer has to hold at 17.
That's right.
Right? However, all of the citizens that are sitting around facing this dealer, they got 12s and 13s and 14s, and they see a 7 facing them, and they get rattled, and they pull a card, and they get a picture, and they have 24, and they lost the bet even before they could find out what the dealer had.
That's right.
In many instances I've seen where the dealer wipes out all 6 players and only has a 9 showing. Or maybe he has a 13, maybe a 6, or another 7 underneath, and he doesn't have the 17 they thought he had. And had he pulled the first picture, he'd have been over. So isn't it true that if you, well, I don't want to say it so that the people don't understand, but isn't it true that if you have anything above an 11, and if the dealer has like a 2 or a 3 or a 4 showing, that you're better off to stay with your 12, 13, or 14 and not pull any more cards?
No. I will explain something to you. When I came on this program, I told you that I was going to tell the truth about playing.
Tell the truth.
If I were to play blackjack, no matter what the dealer had, I always hit 12. I hit like the dealer, and you'll find out that you'll have better chance of winning by not standing on 12.